Hope everyone had an amazing week and is getting through this interesting time in a nice way. Times are changing week by week, and Be'ezus Hashem will continue to pull out as much of the good and get as much inspiration and learn as many lessons and get closer to Hashem with every day that passes. Be'ezus Hashem. Okay, I'm going to mute everybody to start the shir, and then we'll unmute everybody for questions at the end. Right, we're in our second shir in Torah Yud, Torah 10 in Likutei Moharan. I want to once again thank everybody for being involved and watching and sharing, sending the shirim off to different people and getting them out there. Please go to our YouTube channel, Breslov Thornhill, and like things and subscribe and help to get the word out. And see us on Facebook and like and subscribe, whatever you can do. Also, these shirim are also going to be on the BRI website, and they have an app coming out also, the Breslov Research Institute. So a special shkoyach to them. I would like to say that the shir is this week for a continued recovery. Reb Chaim Menachem Ben Leah, Reb Chaim Kramer, the founder and of the Breslov Research Institute. He should continue to have a refuah shlema. Baruch Hashem, he's doing well. And that's it. Let's get going. Okay, so we'll do a quick review. We only had one class before today in this Torah, so we should have a very fast review. And then afterwards, we will get into it. There's some really, really, really important, awesome ideas in the Torah this week. Very, very, very important. So we're going to start like this. So we said as a review, Rabbeinu started off by telling us, and we're going to come back to this only in next week's class, or we're going to come back to this idea. But Rabbeinu starts off this Torah by telling us that in a time of dinim, when there's dinim against Yisrael, chas v'shalom, when there's judgments against us in the world, when there's negativity in the world, that is a time. How do we fix up those dinim? How are we mamtik those dinim? How do we sweeten up those judgments? Through rikudim v'hamchaos chaf, dancing and clapping hands. And once again, we're not gonna hear what this means. We didn't hear it last week. We're not going to hear this week what it means, but we're going to get into it next week, hopefully in some amazing depth. What does it mean to dance and clap hands, and how does that bring a hamtakas adin? How does that sweeten the judgments? Oh, we're going to get into it. But you'll notice, if you're around a lot of Breslovers, that there's a lot of hand clapping that happens, even right in the middle of tefillah. My good friend, my landsman from Winnipeg, the holy Rabbi Kahanovich, mentioned last week that he is the only Lubavitcher who claps his hands, because he's one of the special people who can take Torah from tzaddikim and not have to be bound to only one, a holy Jew. Okay, so anyway, that's the way it started off. So we're going to get back into that next week. Then we said the main gedula of Hashem, the main greatness of Hashem. When is Hashem's name great in the world? Is when someone comes from a faraway place and comes close to Hashem. When someone comes from either not being Jewish and then becomes very connected to Hashem, or maybe not being Jewish but not being observant and coming closer to Hashem, or an individual on their own level, maybe they were always so-called religious, but they break through some of their klippas, they break through some of their difficulties, and they come from a place where relatively they were far away from Hashem, and they become close to Hashem. But the example that the Zohar brings, the Zohar says that there was never such a sanctification of the name of Hashem. There was never a display of the greatness of Hashem in the world to the extent as to when Yisro came and said, Ki ata yadati gadol Hashem. Now I know that Hashem is great. When Yisro, the father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu, who was the Kohen Midian, the priest of the Midian nation, who was versed in all different types of avodah zarah and tuma and magic and all those kind of things, when he came from that place and came close to Hashem, that was the biggest sanctification of Hashem. That was the biggest display of the greatness of Hashem in the world. So this is something that is very precious to the Ribbono Shel Olam, and is very important, and is very special when someone comes from far away and comes close to Hashem. So how do we see that? So the main way we see that is when a non-Jew hears about the greatness of Hashem and comes close to Hashem, recognizes Hashem, and brings that into the world, like with Yisro. So Rabbeinu said in Ois Gimel that how does it happen? The only way that the non-Jewish world can become part of, can enter into this knowledge, to this relationship of knowledge of Hashem in the world, and can come from that far away place to a close place to Hashem, is through the aspect of Yaakov Avinu. And as we said, that Yaakov Avinu is called Beis Yaakov, and the pasuk said in Yeshaya, Beis Yaakov lechu v'nilcha ba'or Hashem, that the Navi Yeshaya is saying that when Mashiach comes, all of the nations of the world are going to say, Beis Yaakov, lechu, go to the Or Hashem, go to the light of Hashem, go to the Beis Hamikdash, Beis Yaakov, v'nilcha, and we'll also come. We want to come with you. So it's going to be, what's going to be, the Navi Yeshaya is telling us, what's going to be the conduit to bring the non-Jewish world to the light of Hashem? It's the concept of Beis Yaakov. Rabbi Nachman went on to explain that from our forefathers, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov Avinu, they all spoke about the place of the Beis Hamikdash using a different word. And Avram Avinu used the word Har, which means mountain. And Yitzchak Avinu used the word Sadeh, which means field. Yaakov Avinu used the word Bayis, which means house. And these three explanations of the Har HaBayis, of the place where the temple is, right, in the middle of Yerushalayim, they all have a certain type of connotation. And the way that Rabbi Nachman explains it is the way that a person can connect, relate, and become part of that relationship with Hashem. So, mountain is something that's off in the distance. Something very big, but off in the distance. Something that I see, maybe I visit very, very, here, few and far between. That's a mountain. A sadeh, a field, is something that is much more familiar to a person. A person can relate to the field in a much more connective way. So Yaakov Avinu brought sadeh. Yitzchak Avinu brought sadeh, but Yaakov Avinu said no. This place is called Beis Elokim. This place is called house. Why? Because a house is a place where I live. I'm intimately familiar with my house. It's the place that I feel most comfortable. It's the place that I'm most connected to. And that is the aspect of Yaakov Avinu and how he relates to the Har HaBayis, to the Temple Mount, and to this connection to Hashem, is with tremendous intimacy, familiarity, close relationship, very understanding connection to the Har HaBayis. So Rabbeinu is telling us that this is what the non-Jewish world needs to see, needs to be connected to, in order to be able to be like Yisro, and to bring this tremendous glorification of the name of Hashem into the world, to come close to Hashem. They need to see this connection to Hashem, that there's such a thing, such a connection to Hashem, where I'm intimately drawn into Hashem. My prayers every day are sincere and real, and I'm in my prayers, I'm connected to Hashem in the same way that I'm in my house. I'm living with Hashem. I'm living with my prayers, with my connection to Hashem. When the non-Jewish world is able to plug into that, that's what will pull them in. Because the field, that less intimate relationship with Hashem, and certainly the mountain, an even far removed relationship with Hashem, will not be enough to plug in the non-Jewish world to Hashem, and to make that tremendous glorification of the name of Hashem like Yisro did, according to the Zohar. So we need this concept of bayis, house. And we saw from Pasuk that bias, we see that word is connected to a place of prayer for all nations. Like the Pasuk said, Ki beisi beis tefillah yikare l'chol ha'amim. My house, says Hashem, also in Yeshaya, my house is called a house of prayer for all nations. That's what it says in Yeshaya. My house, says Hashem, is called a house of prayer for all nations. And it's only that aspect of house, of intimacy, that is going to make the connection to the non-Jewish world. And we brought another pasuk talking about how the greatness of Hashem is seen through prayer. How do we see Hashem in the world? How do we start to develop that relationship with Hashem in the world and see Him in the world in this way, with that intimacy? Is through prayer, through tefillah. So anybody who has had an experience with tefillah and who has started to grow in their tefillah is going to feel this in their kishkes. That when we have powerful connective tefillah, we feel that biased relationship with Hashem. We feel it. What Rabbi Nachman is telling us is that there's a particular relationship between tefillah and bias and bringing Hashem's name into the world. And we explained that it has to do with the concept of tefillah and emunah, and how when a person sees that someone davens, prays with such zeal and such connection and such heartfelt emotion and connection to Hashem, and the person's prayers are answered, that's seeing Hashem in the world. That's seeing emunah functioning in the world. That's seeing prayer function in the world. As we said so many times, that what is tefillah? Tefillah goes hand in hand with nisim. Because why? Because when we see that someone prays for something, someone davens for something, and the regular course of things gets switched up, and that thing happens that was not so likely to happen, we see the result of the tefillah. A nace happens, a miracle happens. The regular derech hateva, the regular natural order of things is uprooted, and we see Hashem in the world. So when the nations will see that, that's going to be what draws them in closely. That's going to be what brings them in. So the next question is that we started in Ois Daled, letter number 4 on page 118 in the black Breslov Research Institute Likutei Moharan, was that the way that we can raise up our prayer from mountain and field to this aspect of bias, of house, the way we can change our prayer from being a distant connection to Hashem to an intimate, deep connection to Hashem, is only through connecting to the tzaddikim of every generation. So let's start there at letter Dalet, Ois Dalet, and we'll continue on from there. Ve'inyan zeh, this inyan, lahalois hatefillah mebichinas har v'sadeh lebichinas bias, to raise up the aspect of prayer from mountain and field to this higher level of Ir Elokeinu, bias and Ir Elokeinu, of house and the city of Hashem. In order so that we should be able to reveal the Malchus of Hashem, the kingdom of Hashem in the world, also to the non-Jewish world, to the Akum. That they should also have an ability to attain some type of grasp on Elokusoi, on His essence, on Hashem's essence. It can only be done through the Tzadikei Hador, through the Tzadikim of the generation. Like Chazal say in the Gemara Bava Basra, someone who has a sick person in his house, what should he do? He should go to the Tzaddik and ask him to daven on behalf of this person who's sick. So what's Pshat? So that's what we spoke about last week. And the next thing Rabbeinu says is like this. Now this is something I want everybody to prepare for, because this is in some ways, it's a hard concept to hear. It's a little bit difficult. I mean, difficult like emotionally to hear. And we may have negative experiences that are going to come out in the concept that we're going to talk about now. But on the other hand, it's of utmost importance and will give us a real guide in how to get through everything in our lives, how to get through difficulties, how to find the right connections, how to make the right prayers happen, It's going to give us a path. So it says like this. Ki ikar hatefila einam yodim ki im tzadiki hador. The main aspect of prayer is only known to the tzadiki hador, to the top tzadikim of the generation. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that no one else can pray. It means the real, pure, deepest, highest level of prayer. That prayer that goes right to Hashem, and things happen, things get changed. That deep, intimate connection. You know, I heard it said before that there's a certain rabbi in the generation right now, a holy rabbi, and some of the big Kabbalists in the world said about him like this. Someone came to one of the big Kabbalists and said, I'm leaving names out of here just to make things easier. So someone came to a big Kabbalist and said to this big Kabbalist, you know, I need help. A person in my house is on their deathbed and it's not looking good. And we need your help. Please go and pray for this person. So the Kabbalist did his Kabbalistic thing, and he said, I only have the ability to get up to a certain number of the heavenly courts in my prayers. I can only go through certain levels from down here up close to Hashem. I can only get through certain levels of the heavenly courts. But for this person, you need more. You have to go to this rabbi. This rabbi is able to navigate all of the 24 heavenly courts. So we're not talking about just types of people who are good daveners, right? Who can daven with emotion. That is precious sweetness to Hashem. When a Jew davens with just simplicity, like we normal people do, is very, very precious to the Rebbeinu Shalom. But there are people in the world who are in a different realm, and who are able to access the spiritual realm on a much deeper level, right? And those people are the ones who really have an understanding, who really connect to what real prayer is, right? So it's, God forbid, we're not trying to diminish the tremendous chashivos and chavivos, the love and importance that Hashem puts on the prayer of every individual. We're just explaining that there's a different level. There's a different level of prayer that exists, and that's by the Tzadikei Hador. And by Tzadikei Hador, we mean a handful in every generation, maximum 36, right? Of the holy tzaddikim. That's who has the tefillah. Ki yesh balei gaiva, because, says Rabbi Nachman, there are balei gaiva, there are arrogant people, that they don't want that people should go to tzaddikim. And they say that, no, I can daven on my own, or you can daven on your own. Don't worry. You don't have to go to tzaddikim. Just daven. That's it. That's all you need. And they push away. They try to stop other people who, God forbid, have a sick person in their house from going to tzaddikim. They try to stop them from going. Right? Real anti-tzaddikim, these type of people. Aleiham Ne'emar. So, okay, we're going to get to this. So, we'll get to this in a second. So, in other words, there's a certain type of person out there who doesn't want people to go to tzaddikim. And the commentaries on Likutei Moharan explain that Rabbi Nachman is really referring to certain types of Jewish leaders who want to steer people away from tzaddikim. People who think, I can take care of everyone on my own. Right? A certain type of rabbi, let's say. This reason this is so important is because we talk about this a lot. How do you find the right rabbi? How do you find a good rabbi to follow, to go to with you when you need him to daven for you, to pray, right? How do you find the right person for the right situation? So Rabbi Nachman is telling us over here that there are certain people who will in their own arrogance say, no, I can take care of my people. I will daven. That's all you need. You don't need to go to the tzaddikim. You don't need to go to kivrei tzaddikim. I can take care of my own people. Not only that, they shouldn't even go on their own to other people. I can do all the davening. Right? This is what Rabbi Nachman says. So he says, Aleim Nemar, on them, says the Pasuk in Bereshis. So we're going to bring a Pasuk in Bereshis that's talking about when Avram Avinu and Sarah Imenu went down to Avimelech. And the Pasuk says, so what happened over there is that Avimelech, Avram told Sarah to say that she was his sister. And Avimelech took Sarah and he wanted to marry her. And so what happened is that the whole country started getting a certain type of illness, and they realized that something was wrong. So they said to Avimelech, Hashev Eshes Haish, return the wife of this man. Return the wife of this man. And the rest of the pasuk says, Ki Navihu, because he's a Navi, Umispala, and he will daven for you, he'll pray for you, and you'll be healed. This is what the pasuk says. They said to Avimelech, return the wife of this man, meaning Sarah, Avram's wife, return the wife of this man, because he is a Navi, and he will pray for you, and you will be healed. That's what the pasuk says. So Rabbi Nachman says like this, looking at this pasuk on the next level up. He says, Ki zeh habal gaiva mechune beloshen Avimelech, because this person who's a bal gaiva, who's an arrogant person, he is given the name of Avimelech. Meaning, when we see this person nowadays who doesn't go to tzaddikim and stops other people from going to tzaddikim, this person is referred to by the name of Avimelech. Why? Avi loshen ratzain, because the word Avi is a loshen of ratzain. Means we think Avi means father, which it does, but it also has a meaning of desire, of wanting. Like it says by Bilam, that God did not want to listen to Bilam. It says that Hashem did not want to. Lo ava. He didn't have lo ava. It's using the same word as avi ava to mean desire or want. Hashem did not want to listen to Bilam. Avi. It also has a connotation of wanting and desire. So avi, the word Avimelech, we're splitting into two. The first half, avi, means desire. A person who desires something. Avi loshen ratzain. Why? Ki hu roitze limloich. Because this person wants to be the melech. Hu roitze limloich. He wants to be the melech. Hainu avi melech. Avi means desires. Melech means king. He's Avi Melech. He wants to be the king. This is this arrogant person in any generation who wants to stop people from going to tzaddikim, because the person says, I'm good enough. You don't need that tzaddik. I will pray for you. Right? This is the Avimelech, the Bal Gaiva. Hainu Avimelech. Ki be'emes, because the truth is like this. I'll just tell you something that happened to me. Many years ago, there was a certain rabbi in a certain city that shall all remain nameless. And this rabbi was really a Bal Gaiva. He fits exactly into what Rabbi Nachman's talking about over here. And I was defending this rabbi to someone else. But what someone said about him, this person was not a Breslover whatsoever, had no connection to this Torah whatsoever at all. But this person said about this rabbi, he said, that guy just wants to be a melech. He just wants to sit up at the front and everybody has to do everything that he wants. He just wants to be a melech. Right? So, whatever. I tried to defend the person and tried to make peace. But, why am I saying that? Because you see that there are certain people, even in a position of authority, right? Even in a position of a rabbi, who unfortunately have gaiva, who have arrogance. And they have to guide things, have to be exactly their way. And things have to be done to a T the way that they want it. And they won't tolerate anybody changing anything, right? You know what I'm talking about? Such a person, says Rabbi Nachman, you have to stay far away from. And this is Avimelech. This person is called Avimelech. He wants to be the melech. Because really, the tzaddik is moishel b'tfilasai. The tzaddik rules with his prayer. So where do we get this from? Like the pasuk says this. This pasuk in Shmuel says tzaddik moshel, that the tzaddik rules with his tefillah. The tzaddik can say something and it's going to happen, right? And he thinks that he is going to be able to daven, and he's going to have this memshala. That's what this Avimelech, this Baal Gaiva thinks. Therefore, he has this name of Avimelech, because he wants to rule, and he wants to be the one who says, Ana emlech, I'm going to be the king, I'm going to rule. So in other words, there are holy, holy, holy people in the world whose tefillahs are powerful and who can make things happen in the world. We said the story last week about the holy Rabbi Hanani ben Doisa, who, when there was rain lacking, and they would put on sackcloth and take off their shoes, and they would pray for rain. Right? That's how they would get rain. It's, by the way, one of the special things about Eretz Yisrael is it doesn't get its water from anywhere except for rain. You have to daven for water. That's the only way Eretz Yisrael gets its water, right? Anyway, when the Gemara says Rabbi Chanan ben Doisa, he took off his shoe, and as soon as his toe touched the ground, it started to rain. Meaning he didn't have to do more than that, and already that was enough. He was such a tzaddik on such a holy level. And he's the one that we said the story about last week, that when Rabbi Gamliel's son was sick, he sent his students over to Rabbi Chanan ben Doisa, and he saw the students coming through the window. And by the time they got to his house, he opened the door and said, "Don't worry, I know why you came. The Rabbi Gamliel's son is healed." And they went straight back to Rabbi Gamliel, and he said, "At the exact moment when you did that, my son opened his eyes and took a drink of water and was better." And we have story after story of holy, holy people being able to bring miracles, being able to bring salvations, being able to help people in the world with their prayers, right? Miracles. I've seen this with many people, spending time with holy Rabbanim, and seen this on various different levels, over and over again, person after person, having experienced Nisim with Rav Arush. Many others also, you see such a thing. So this is the thing. Now you're going to have a person who's a Baal Gaiva, who's an arrogant person, who thinks that they can do the same thing, right? It's the worst type of situation, because not only can they not help the person, but they're preventing them from going to the people that can really help. So this is the Avimelech. So v'zeh perish, and this is what it means. Here we go. This is what the pasuk means when it said, Hashev Eshes Ha'ish, return the wife of this man. Eshes, the word Eshes, how do you spell it? Aleph, Shin, Taf, is Rashi Teves, is an acronym for Adonai Sfasai Tiftach, which we say when? It means, my master, open my mouth, open my lips, so I can pray. These are the words that we say before every single Shemona Esrei that we say every day. Hashem Svasai Tiftach. Aleph, Shin, Taf. Eshes. This word Eshes, the wife of Avram Avinu, means prayer, means tefillah. Hashem Svasai Tiftach. Hashem, open my lips so I can pray. Zu b'chinas tefillah. Dahainu, Hashev Eshes. Return the tefillah. B'chinas tefillah l'tzadik. Avram Avinu was the tzaddik of the generation, was the tzaddik of the time. Ha'ish. Ha'ish means the tzaddik. Return Hashev Eshes, return Eshes. Return tefillah, return prayer to the tzaddik. This is what was said to Avimelech at the time. He said to Avimelech, don't be such a Baal Gaiva. Return this man's wife to him. And in our understanding from this, from maybe one level up, it means don't be such a Baal Gaiva and think that you can pray and you can do everything. Return that prayer to the tzaddik. Hashev Eshes, return Eshes. Hashem Svasai Tiftach, to Ha'ish, to the tzaddik. Ki Navihu, because he's a Navi, and he will pray for you, and you will become healed, said the Torah. Ki HaKadosh Baruch Hu mis'ave l'tfilas shel tzaddikim, because the pasuk, the Gemara says in Chulin, that Hashem longs to hear the prayers of the tzaddikim. Umeshager tefillah sedura b'piv. And He causes their prayers to be flowing and beautiful in their mouths. Kadesh yehena mitfilasai. In order so that He should have pleasure from their prayers. Like the Gemara says, Ki navihu lashon niv svasayim. When we said about Avram Avinu, Ki navihu, he's a navi and he'll pray for you. Navi is a lashon of niv svasayim. Niv svasayim, that means the expression of the lips. Kamoisha Amru Chazal say in the Gemara in Brachas. The Gemara in Brachas brings down this pasuk, Borei niv svasayim, that Hashem creates the expression of the lips. And the Gemara explains, what does it mean? So it brings down one of the stories of the holy tzaddikim that would pray for someone, and he would say right away, I think it was Chaim Mendoza, he would say right away if they were healed or not. And the people said to him, how do you know if the person was healed? You just said the person would pray, the rabbi would pray, and he'd finish and he'd say, okay, don't worry, you can go home now. That person is healed. It was the story about the son of Rabbi Gamliel. So they asked him, how do you know? You're still here. You didn't go back and check. And he said, I know like this. If I go to pray and the words just flow like a beautiful poem, and everything just comes to me and it flows through me, if it's shigura b'piv, if it's flowing, it's fluent and flowing through my mouth, then I know that tefillah was accepted by Hashem. And I know that Hashem put those words into my mouth. And it just flowed through me. And when that happens, I know that was the type of tefillah that changes the world. And I know that the person is better. I just know. Right? So in other words, this is we're getting to something that we're going to see that's super, super important, that is really the number one quality that a Jewish leader needs to have, that a rabbi needs to have. When you're looking for that leader, for that person to help you pray, when you're looking for that person to help you with advice, with whatever it might be, the number one thing that leader needs is to be humble. Cannot be a Baal Gaiva, cannot be an arrogant person. Why was the prayer of this person so perfect? Because the words came from Hashem and just flowed through this person as if he was an empty vessel. He didn't take up any space. He just allowed things to come through him. He was a vessel for the light of Hashem. He threw out all of his self, all of his materialism, all of his negative emotional content, all of his baggage, became a holy, holy, holy person, so that the light of Hashem just came into him. Such a person is the person who can channel the light of Hashem, who can give advice, who can pray for a person. And it's the opposite of the Baal Gaiva. It's the opposite of the arrogant person. So that's an important lesson, right? We all have to take that one to heart and use it. So let's go a little weiter. Hashev. So we said Hashev Eshes Ha'ish. Return the wife of this man, right? Hashev Eshes Ha'ish. So we said Eshes refers to prayer. Hashem Sosai Tiftach. And Ha'ish refers to the tzaddik. Avram Avinu refers to the tzaddik. What about the first word, Hashev, return? Rashi Tevis, that is an acronym for Har, Sadeh, Bayis. The three words that we started off with: mountain, field, and house. Ze remez shetefilas atzadik hi b'shleimus. That is a hint that the tefillah of a tzaddik is absolutely complete, all-encompassing. Shema'ale yosem b'chinas har v'sadeh b'chinas bayis. Because the tefillah of the tzaddik takes mountain and field and brings it down into house. It takes all of that possible connection to Hashem and brings it down into one fine point. Is metzamtemet, constricts it into that one fine point where we can have the utmost incredible connection. That's what the tzaddik does. Hashev, Eshes Ha'ish, means take that prayer and put it into the realm of tzaddik, which is har sadeh and bias, which is bringing it down into that realm. Aval elu habalegaiva, but these arrogant people, ma'akvin ta'avasoi shel Hashem yisborach, ve'inu mevakshim et tzadikim yishpal alehem. These arrogant people are actually stopping the desire of Hashem. Right? The Gemara tells us Hashem desires the prayer of the tzaddikim. And this person is saying, don't go to the tzaddikim, don't go. He's trying to block the desire of Hashem, if you could believe it. Because this person thinks, oh, I am what it's all about. I fasted and I did sigufim. You know, there used to be these customs of sigufim where people would like roll around in the snow without any clothes on, do things to harm their body, do things to afflict themselves with different types of pain, rolling in the snow, fasting, a lot of fasting, right? Rabbi Nachman was, to a certain extent, against fasting in a certain way. You know, not when I'm not talking about the fasts like Yom Kippur or Tisha B'Av or, you know, the those types of big fasts. But Rabbi Nachman said, very importantly, that if he would have known in his early years, because when Rabbi Nachman was a young man, very young, he did a lot of fasting and a lot of these types of sigufim. And he said that when he was much older, he said if he would have known as a kid the power of hisboidedus, what hisboidedus can accomplish, he never would have done all the fasting and sigufim. And that hisboidedus can get you to a much, much higher place than fasting and afflicting oneself can get you to. So this person, this Balgaiva, this arrogant person thinks, who's stopping the desire of Hashem and is stopping people from going to tzaddikim to pray, right? So he thinks, yeah, I've fasted, I've done all these sigufim on myself, ubezeh hem tzaddikim, and through this, they're a tzaddik. I did this, now I'm a tzaddik. Now, you know, we don't need to go to the tzaddikim, we don't need to go to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, we don't need to go to Rabbi Nachman, we don't need to go to any of the big tzaddikim. Nope, I'm all we need, says the person. Right? Why? Because I've done some fasts, I've done some rolling in the snow, I am amazing. Right? Such a person says. Aval ha'emes inokein, but the truth is that it's not true. Ki kol hatanesim shehisanu, all of the fasts that this person did, ein ze ela kamoy sak sheyesh bo chorim harbe. This is only nothing more than like a bag, a bag that's full of holes. Ukeshemerikin es a sak, and when you empty out the bag, afal pikein nisharu bo chorim, it's still full of holes. This is the mashal Rabbi Nachman uses to explain what such a person is like. Let's just hear the next little bit and then we'll explain what this means. V'haguf nikra sak. The body of a person is called sak, is called like a bag, a sack. Kamay maratana, like the Gemara says in the Gemara in Shabbos, shinana, sherei sakach, sharp one, smart person, you, smart Tana. It's referring to a certain one of the rabbis of the Mishnah who is very, very, very bright. But he was being told by another one of the rabbis that he has to eat. So he in order to have energy to be able to learn and to daven and to do everything that a Tana would do. So he says, Shinana, sharp one, Sharei Sakha, open up your bag, meaning eat, open your body, give some energy to your body. So you see from this that the body of a person is called sak, is called like a bag. So Rabbi Nachman is explaining like this. This person who's a Balgaiva, who's an arrogant person, who thinks that because I did some fasting and I did some afflicting of myself, that now I'm a tzaddik, right? He's like a bag full of holes that's been emptied out. That even once it's emptied out, it's still a bag full of holes. Meaning what? It's like the person was full of negative traits, let's say, right? The person had behaviors that they did that were not good. They did this avera, they did that avera, they got angry, they gave in to physical desires, whatever their issues were, right? So through fasting and through afflicting their bodies, they were able to get rid of those behaviors. So they emptied those behaviors out of themselves. It's like they emptied the bag out. But they didn't fix themselves really. They just got rid of those behaviors. So in the end, when they emptied out all those negative behaviors, they still had left a bag full of holes. Because they didn't fix themselves really, right? They only got rid of the behaviors. They didn't fix the essence of the person. They didn't get down deep and fix the depths of their souls and connect to the deepest parts of themselves. I hope everybody understands that. It's a very important idea. You know, there's let's tell a story here, a quick idea that we see. The Nesiv Shalom brings this down a few times from the Ari HaKadosh, from the holy Arizal, that the Ari was very particular to often say, and so the Nesiv Shalom says this a lot, that every person has a certain tikkun that they have to accomplish. This is, of course, also Breslov 101, right? But this is very, very special, deep ideas from the Arizal, the Kabbalah, and the Nesiv Shalom. Menachem brings it. Many people bring this idea, but it's very, very important. Every person has a tikkun, a certain tikkun that they have to accomplish in the world, a certain correction. Sometimes in English we call it a soul correction that has to be done. And that soul correction is a very, very deep part of the person. And many of the Torah sources say that the way that a person can see where does their tikkun have to take place is to see where their Yetzer Hara stands up the strongest. What's the issue that they have to deal with, that they have to fight harder than anything else? So for some people it could be powerful anger, and that they just can't get rid of it, they can't control it. And it keeps coming at them day after day, year after year. With some people it's physical desires in different aspects, right? Could be many different things. But wherever it rears its head, you know that your tikkun is somewhere in that realm, right? So everybody right now can be thinking, where's my tikkun? What's my big problem? If you don't think about it too much, you'll know right away what it is. Your big problem, the big thing that you just can't beat, and it keeps raising its head, right? That's a hint to where your tikkun is. It's somehow connected to that thing, right? So we have to think about that. But why am I saying this right now? The Arizal said that it's possible, the way the Nesiv Shalom brings it down, that a person could get up to the Beis Din Shel Maalah after 120 years, and the person was totally amazing, and was a big tzaddik, or at least behaved like a big tzaddik, let's say. Person behaved like a big tzaddik, didn't do any averas, and didn't do anything wrong. This is, of course, a good story that's brought down in some of the Svarim about the holy celibate, right? The holy celibate, who was such a holy person, such a holy tzaddik, that he learned nonstop, davened all day and all night. He lived in the shul. He didn't leave the shul ever. He was so holy that he felt he could never get married, because if he got married, then his time would be taken for a wife and a family, and he'd have to go to work and make money. This way, he spent his whole entire day and night only studying and praying. The holy celibate, right? So this is a perfect story how we understand this. He got up to the Beis Din Shel Maalah after 120, and everybody thought he was the biggest tzaddik. And he got up there, and he stood in front of the court, expecting them to say, okay, they're going to get a bunch of angels to escort you to the highest place, way up at the top with all the big tzaddikim. And instead, they stamped his paper, turn him around, he's got to go back down. And he was like, what? There must be a mistake. It's me, the holy celibate. Everybody knows I'm a tzaddik. Everybody said I'm a tzaddik. What are you talking about? And they said, no, you did a lot of averas. Really. You're totally filthy. And he was like, what? What are you talking about? I'm filthy. He didn't say you did averas. You're filthy. And he said, what are you talking about? I'm filthy. And he said, yeah. No, you are a terribly angry person. You have a ton of anger in you. And it's like, what are you talking about? I never hurt a fly. I never yelled at a single person. And so they said to him, oh, yeah, but see, there's a problem. You didn't get married. And because you didn't get married, you didn't have to live together with your wife in a house, and this is not a joke about marriage, and you didn't have children, and because you didn't have a family and you didn't have a wife and children, you were never pushed. Your patience was never tested. You were never put into those situations where you can blow up and get in a fight and have anger. You never even touched it. Really, you're an angry person, but because you didn't get married, which is a mitzvah from the Torah, a man has to get married, you didn't do that. You never even got to start working on your purpose in the world. You didn't even get to start working on your purpose. So you had to go back down, right? Meaning what? Why are we talking about this? In the same way, you could see that a person could do certain things in their life, change certain behaviors, or avoid certain things, and fancy themselves to be a tzaddik, right? But really, they're just a bag full of holes. Yeah, they emptied out a bunch of negativity, but the bag is still full of holes, and it hasn't been fixed yet. The tzaddik is someone who has sanctified themselves to such a level, who has fixed those holes, who has patched those holes, who has become a complete, strong, fixed vessel. And that vessel can hold the light of Hashem. That vessel can receive blessings. That vessel can channel things to help other people, right? So that's what he said over here. Ve'im hizboinanu ba'atzman hayoroyim achar kol atanesim adayan nisharo etzlam kol tavasam keshurim basakam. And if they would have contemplated for 1 minute, these arrogant people, they would realize that after all of the work they did, fasting and afflicting themselves, their taivas are still completely attached to them. Their physical desires are still there. They haven't really gotten to the root of them. They're just keeping them at bay. Hainu begufam. V'loi tavasam bilvad nisharu kosher begufam. And not only are their desires attached to their bodies, not only that, not only the physical desires that they built up over their life, let's say, being in negative situations, connecting to Tumah, doing the wrong things, Averas, they developed a whole set of physical desires for themselves. Not only those, but rather also the physical desires that were placed onto them B'shas ha'ilada, at the time that they were born. Machmas shaloi niskadesh aviv b'shas zivug, because his parents, his father, was not mekadesh himself, didn't sanctify himself at the time when he was conceived. Gam zeh kosher beguf hamadayan, that also is attached to this person in their lifetime. And if this Baal Gaiva would see all of this that is attached to them still, they would tremble in fear. They would see that they're on such a low level. Right? So there's a couple of ideas here that we have to see, and we'll be wrapping up shortly. But this idea is so important. That a person can get into a space of arrogance, thinking that they've got it all figured out. I conquered this issue, I conquered this issue, I've grown through this, I've learned so much, and I'm doing tshuva, and they can fancy themselves to be a tzaddik. They can fancy themselves to be on a tremendous level, and that arrogance can build. And arrogance, we know, is the worst enemy of a Jew. But really, all those taivas are still attached to them. All those physical desires are attached to them. And we know it's not only with physical desires, but we know that we're born with certain traits that we get from our parents. Just from the way we were brought into the world, we have a certain personality. We have a certain set of challenges, a certain set of talents, a certain set of desires that are put into us from birth. And anyone who has had multiple children, and certainly anyone who has twins, knows this for sure. that you can see that each child from the time they're born is totally different from the other and has a different set of circumstances, right? We're born with certain things from our parents. Some of them are negative spiritual aspects. Some of them are positive spiritual aspects. But we are put into the world with a pekel, with baggage from our parents. And that's part of our makeup. And then we go through life, and as we go through life, we build positive spirituality, we build the positive aspect of ourselves, and we also build the negative aspect of ourselves. And we build negative spirituality. We develop certain physical desires, this is what he's talking about right now, over our life, and we're born with certain physical desires also. Both of these two things are what we have to deal with. And such a Baal Gaiva gets to a certain point in their life and says, I've achieved it. I'm a tzaddik. Now I can rule over everybody else. Now I can pray for everybody else. Everybody come to me. Right? And really, they're still fighting. They're still going to be fighting that same desire as they keep going on. Maybe they've diminished a little bit, but it's still there. And if they would just think and contemplate and be misboided for a short time, they would realize that it's still there. And it's only waiting to flare up. And such a person, you will see that when they get into certain situations, that gaiva, that arrogance will flare up. And that will froth up to the forefront and will come out in some type of negative way. It's going to come out. So what Rabbeinu is telling us over here, which is very important, and is something that we all have to look out for in ourselves and in the people that we look up to. A false sense of righteousness is an aspect of arrogance, and when we're arrogant, when we're a Baal Gaiva, we don't leave room for Hashem in the world. We remember Torah Aleph? Who remembers Torah Aleph? Put up your hand. If you remember Torah Aleph. So Torah Aleph, we said that Torah Aleph presents itself in every single one of Rabbi Nachman's Torahs, right? And in Torah Aleph, we brought this concept of Malchus. Malchus is referred to in the Zohar. The aspect of Malchus is Leish Lamagar Meklum. Has nothing of its own. Has nothing of its own. It's an empty place that becomes a receiver, right? And we are supposed to live in the world and remove our self, remove our negative traits, remove our arrogance, remove all those things, and allow ourselves to be able to receive the light of Hashem into ourselves. We have to turn ourselves into vessels that can receive Hashem and receive the light of Hashem. And if we're arrogant, our vessel is full. It's full of us. It's full of me, right? If we're arrogant, there's no room for Hashem. The Gemara says that Hashem says that the arrogant person and me, says Hashem, cannot exist at the same time, right? So, in our own lives, if we feel ourselves getting arrogant, look what I've accomplished, look how far I've come, look at how much money I make, look at how amazing my family is, look at it's all these things that a person could start to feel. You have to know that you're about to be smacked down. It's a bad sign. And not only that, it's not about the consequence. We don't leave any room for Hashem to come in, for the light of Hashem to come in. Mashen Kain, a person who always realizes that everything comes from Hashem, who thanks Hashem for everything that happens in their lives, and realizes that any talent that I have was given to me from Hashem. The money that I have, especially if it's a person who was born into money, the money that I have, Hashem gave it all to me. The more that a person thanks Hashem and doesn't say, Koichi va'otzim yadi, it's my power that creates everything, that person is a humble person. That person leaves an opening for the light of Hashem to come in. That person can become a tzaddik. That person can become a leader. That is a person who you could look up to. That is a person who you could ask to pray for you. And on an individual level, that's our way of growing. We have to always know that whenever we start to feel too good about ourselves, whenever we start to get arrogant, cocky, whenever we start to get that existence, we have to step back. We have to right away pull back and start to thank Hashem for everything that we have, and to realize that if it wasn't for Hashem, I couldn't breathe for 1 second. I couldn't exist for 1 second. So this is the main concept of this shir. The main idea so far is that in order for Hashem's name to be in the world, in order for there to be such a Kiddush Hashem and such an existence of Hashem in the world, that the non-Jewish world will say, Jews, go to the Beis HaMikdash and we want to come with you, right? We have to return the tefillah to the tzaddikim. We have to return the concept of prayer to this aspect of absolute humility, and take it away from people of arrogance, of Balei Gaiva. Be'ez Hashem, we'll see tremendous miracles in our own lives, we'll see tremendous miracles in the world, and we'll see Mashiach that we need so strongly right now. So we'll end it there for today, and I want to ask if anybody has questions. Please go ahead now. No? Wait a second. You got a minute? Okay. Thank you. Okay, Fonda, thank you for coming. It was great to see everybody.
If this non-Jews can come too, but you would have to go.
Someone asking something?
The Abra here.
Hello?
She can't see me. Because I'm just like this, I tell her not to.
Okay, anyway, everybody, thank you very much. All the best. We'll see you next week.
Actually, I have a question, Rav.
Oh yeah, who's that?
My name is Farla.
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 Go ahead, Farla. Nice to talk to you.
I'm just wondering. Sorry, I don't have a webcam, so that's
it's okay.
I'm just wondering about the idea of having nachat in what you do manage to accomplish, but without getting becoming arrogant about it.
Right.
And balancing that.
Right. So, very, very good point, and I'll tell you.
Does Rabbi Nachman give suggestions about
Yeah, so everybody knows, all the Breslovers know, that Rabbi Nachman's most important teaching is, of course, Azamra. Why Azamra? Because Rabbi Nachman himself told us that Azamra is the most important Torah of all his Torahs. So he said that you have to look at and find the good aspects of yourself. You always have to focus on your good points, and you have to see the good in yourself. So on the one hand, we have to not be arrogant, but on the other hand, we have to look for and find our good points, our good characteristics, our good traits and everything, right? So how do those two things come together? So the most simple and obvious way, there is deep stuff in this Torah Zamra that's totally amazing, but the simple and obvious way, which is very practical, is that we have to look at those good things that we have, and we have to thank Hashem for them, and know that not only do they come from Hashem, but the good, when I express my good character traits and my talents, and when I express those, that is that piece of Hashem that's inside of me, the Chelek Eloka Mimal, the piece of Hashem that makes up my soul, coming through and expressing itself. When a Jew looks, when a Breslover especially, but when a Jew looks into themselves and finds their good qualities, they're just looking for the godliness in the world. They're looking for what Hashem put into. I'm looking for what Hashem put into me. And when that good trait comes out, that good aspect of me comes out, I'm seeing that which Hashem placed into me. A chelek eloka mimal, a piece of Hashem into me. I'm seeing that expressed. So I can have tremendous nachas, and I can say, wow, like I don't know. Let's say you have someone who's an incredible artist, right? A good example, and makes these beautiful paintings that are inspiring to people and whatever, right? The person can look and say, and people can say to this person, wow, you're an amazing artist. Look at that. Look at what you did. And it's so inspiring, and the Kabbalistic letters and everything. I don't know. I'm making up this artist right now, right? But that person can say, oh, I'm so happy that you appreciate that and that it inspires you. I'm so thankful that Hashem put within me that spark, that light that is able to come out in this expression. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So I'm very happy about my traits, but I'm not arrogant about it. I thank you, Hashem, for giving me this tremendous talent and allowing me to use it to inspire people. Right?
Rabbi,
Yeah, Carmela.
right. Is it not the way I kind of see it? Is it not like where I read?
Sorry, Carmela, you're breaking up there. 1 second.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a second. I'm going to mute everybody except for you. Hold on. Okay, go ahead, Carmela.
Okay. Is it not exactly at that point in that Nakuda where you find your Yetzer Hara is actually your gift? Do you know what I'm trying to say with what you're talking about? Because when I look at myself, I look at where is my greatest challenge? Well, it's in one of the elements, one of the 4 elements, where I'm the strongest at. And what tends to happen is, like, I see myself as fire. So therefore, my passion sometimes it goes to the wrong side.
Uh-huh.
So is that what you're talking about?
Well, sure. So one amazing way that we see that, I would like to give a 1 hour shir right now in the Hishtalshelus of Kabbalah and how it relates to this point, because it's totally amazing. But we'll just say it in 30 seconds instead. Basically, one thing that we know is that whenever there's a place, we spoke about this in the last year actually, now that I remember. Whenever there's something that comes up of tremendous kedusha, right away, the Sitra Achra, the other side, the negative side, the evil side, brings out the army against that thing. So when someone has a real powerful, a fiery power, let's just say, right? Passion. Someone has tremendous passion. So the Yetzer Hara knows that it's not going to get that person to calm down. Right? That won't work. Because this person has the passion. The Yetzer Hara can't stop that. What the Yetzer Hara can do is to divert that passion to something else. Right? So in that sense, wherever we have negativity, wherever we have that, whether it's Averas or whether it's one of our strengths being channeled in a negative way, we know that there's tremendous kedusha and tremendous power there, and that's why it's being focused on by the negative side. And that's exactly what the point that we made earlier also, Yeah. Very well put, Carmela. Very good. Okay. Anyone else before we finish up here?
Thank you, Rabbi. That was
Okay.
wonderful.
Great to be with you all. Look forward to seeing everybody
Good Shabbos.
next week. Good Shabbos, Alter. All the best, everybody.